Let me ask you a question that might be a little too accurate. When was the last time you had a full day where money didn't pop into your head at least once? Not because you were shopping, not because you were paying bills, just that quiet background thought. Am I doing enough? Did I miss something? What if something happens? Should I be investing more? Why do I feel stressed at this income? It's that you're not, if that's you, you're not broken. You're in what I call the money stress loop. Hello, my wealth holders in training. Welcome back to another episode of the Do.Different.Better show, where we make money moves and wealth wisdom for everyday people. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, founder and CEO, strategist, investor, and wealth translator of all things money to move confusion into clarity. And today, we're going to name it, normalize it, and explain why your brain won't let money go, especially if you're a high performer, a business owner, or the responsible one in your family. And no, this is not going to be a group therapy session with spreadsheets. We're going to keep it smart, practical, real, and super cute. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, follow the show and connect with me on Instagram and LinkedIn at Do Better with Elaine, because I'm going to be giving you clips of key moments from this episode so you can replay them and share them with others who you think might help. If you've been with me for the last few weeks, you know that we've been talking about patterns, right? We have been talking about this, arc that's basically about getting into your brain and your money out of emergency mode. We've talked about wealth identity. We've talked about wealth capacity. And in wealth capacity, we talked about what your life can actually hold without breaking you. We simplified your money, closing tabs, reducing clutter, building anchors. We calibrated your emergency funds. And we talked about the difference between a baseline and a buffer in a brick house so you can feel safe. And then we've talked about the cost of chaos and what disorganization steals, like time and attention and opportunities. This is the psychological bridge that makes all those things practical and makes your money systems actually stick and making your money goals actually attainable. Because here's the hard truth. You can't have the right strategy and still feel anxious if your brain is running a threat response on repeat. So in the first segment, I'm going to be talking about what I call the money stress loop and understanding the mechanics. No shame, no diagnosis, just clarity. And if you want some of the companion tools for this episode, I'll be pairing it with the one-page loop interruption cheat sheet along with the 12-month wealth calendar at Do.Different.Better.com. And for now, just remember, you're turning rumination into routine. All right, let's first start with the definitions. Most people think that they're thinking about money because they're responsible. But there's a difference between planning and ruminating. Planning is bounded, it is specific, it is time limited, and it ends in a decision. Rumination is repetitive and it's circular and it's emotionally charged and it ends in more thinking. Planning sounds like I'm going to check my bills, I'm going to update the numbers, I'm going to decide what to do this week. Rumination sounds like I should be doing more, but I'm not sure what. And if I pick the wrong thing, and what if the economy collapses? And also, why can't I relax? Planning reduces uncertainty. Rumination amplifies it. So here's the simplest test. If you've been thinking about the same money issue for more than a week and you haven't taken clear action, there's a good chance you're not planning, you're looping. Now, I want to normalize something. Looping is not stupidity. It's not laziness, and it's not you being dramatic. Looping is your brain doing what it does when it wants clarity that it can't find. It's searching for the answer. And rumination is a trigger because money is never fully done. You can always save more. You can always optimize. You can always compare. You can always find a new expert who will tell you how your plan is wrong. So rumination then feels like responsibility. It feels like work. But It's really a treadmill. Money is not just math. Money is meaning. Money touches some of our basic hierarchy of needs: safety, status, identity, power, responsibility, freedom, and sometimes trauma. So yes, it can trigger a threat response without it even actually being threatening. Remember, your brain doesn't make the distinction between if the threat is real or perceived. Your body just goes into fight or flight mode, despite that you might not even have anything to be afraid of, right? So here's what happens in plain language. Step one, uncertainty shows up. Maybe a bill hits, you see a market headline, you get a tuition reminder, a weird card noise happens. Your partner says, we should talk about money, and your throat closes up like you swallowed a rock, right? Step two, your brain labels uncertainty as risk, not because you're weak, but because your brain is designed to protect and prevent harm. Step three, your brain seeks control. And the cheapest form of control is mental rehearsal to try to solve for the problem. If I think about it enough, I can prevent it, right? Or I can solve for it, but you may not have the information you need to solve for it, right? So you start generating scenarios: best case scenario, worst case scenario. And the fun third category, the worst case, but with extra humiliation scenario, because your brain loves adding some extra emotional seasoning to everything. Then your anxiety rises because your body is responding to vivid thoughts like they're real threats, like you're in the jungle, right? So then you become hyper vigilant or over vigilant and overcompensate. You're checking your accounts, you're checking the news, you're checking the market, you're checking your budget, and you now are in this loop. Uncertainty, threat response, mental rehearsal, more uncertainty. That's the money stress loop. And loops are like browser tabs, right? I know my staff talks about me all the time in all the browser tabs that I have open, right? And if you're like me and that gives you anxiety and you still have them open, like that's kind of a demonstration of what's happening. And when it's worse is when it shows up at night, when everything's quiet, when you lie down, when the brain goes, hello, remember that thing that you needed to handle in 2019? Let's talk about it, right? And you're like, I'm trying to go to sleep, right? So let's talk about the behavior most people have in the money stress loop that they do without even realizing it. Checking the bank app, checking your credit card, checking your bank account, right? These are the things, and you're just like, I remember I was that person. I was checking my bank account, not only every day, several times a day. Now, I think it's maybe once or twice a month I check my bank account, right? And it's all due to these things that I'm sharing with you now. Now, let's talk about why maybe high performers obsess over this. High performers are very, very highly competent people. They're highly conscientious, and they usually have leadership roles. Maybe they're a manager, they're a supervisor, they're a director, they might be in the executive suite. High performers tend to ruminate about money for predictable reasons, right? Reason one is they have responsibility sensitivity. If you're the person that people depend on in the household, whether it's your family, maybe it's somebody you're caretaking for, you have all these responsibilities like your household, your team, your clients, your community, and your brain is calibrated to prevent failure. So money isn't just money, it's the infrastructure of your responsibility. Reason two, there's higher stakes. When you earn more, you often have higher fixed costs, higher expectations, higher perceived downside. So you start thinking, what if I lose? What can I build? Reason number three, you're a high earning and have high expectations. You want to be okay. You want to be secure. You want to be strategic. And maybe if we're honest, you really want to be unstressed, right? But stress doesn't disappear with income. It just gets more sophisticated. So instead of can I pay the rent, it becomes, am I making the best choice? Am I living in the right place? Am I wasting my potential? Am I behind compared to my peers? And that becomes now another mental load. Reason four, too many options. Invest here, pay down that fast, start a business, buy a property, buy a business, support family, donate, retire early. Options are good until they create decision fatigue or decision overwhelm, right? Which also invites rumination and looping. Reason five, you were taught that being responsible means never being wrong. And it may not have been a specific thing that you were told, but it was a message, an unsaid message that you saw and experienced by the words and events that happened in your life, right? Reason 6, I should be grateful, especially for first generation professionals and for people of color. It's the survivor's remorse. I made it. I shouldn't be stressed. I shouldn't, but shouldn't isn't a coping tool. It's a shame tool. You can be grateful and still need money systems. You can be successful and still be overloaded. You can be high earning and still financially be fragile if your life is carrying too much complexity, right? So we replace I shouldn't feel this with what does my system need actually? And reason number 7, business volatility. Again, this is for my business owners. If your income is variable, or maybe my salespeople, right, they're on commission, your brain is living with a moving floor. Some months you feel unstoppable, right? Some months you feel like, do I need to apply for a job at Costco? Because I already know the aisles, right? Variable income increases uncertainty, and uncertainty increases rumination, and it also creates false emergencies. Not every slow week is a crisis, but your nervous system treats it like one. And that's why the loop interrupt system is not optional for founders. It's how you stay strategic instead of reactive. And reason number 8, inheritors and stewards carry moral weight. For socially conscious inheritors, money can feel moral. How do I honor this? How do I not mess this up? How do I be values aligned and still smart and make good decisions? How do I navigate family expectations without becoming a villain? The moral weight increases the feeling that every decision is high stakes, so you overthink and you delay. The decision rules later help you separate values from impulses. Now, different lives, same loop, uncertainty plus open loops, and no cadence, which brings us to the wealth identity, because you don't loop the same way that everybody else does. So remember the 4 wealth identities: builder, caretaker, maximizer, and minimal strategist. Each identity has a very signature money loop. Builders loop through perfectionism. If I build the perfect system, I'll feel safe. So they build spreadsheets and dashboards and categories, and then they feel overwhelmed by their own creation. What they do is they optimize, overwhelm, avoid, feel guilt, and then they optimize all over again. That's their loop. Builders also confuse complex with complete. Sometimes your system isn't sophisticated, it's just crowded, right? Caretakers loop through responsibility and guilt. I can't focus on me until everyone else is okay. So money keeps getting redirected to cover gaps. Their loop is rescue, strain, resentment, guilt, rescue again. The caretaker loop is loud because the uncertainty is relational, not just personal. Maximizers loop through comparison and stacking. I should be further ahead, so they stack goals and strategies. Their loop is stack, stress about it, chase faster wins, and then stack some more. Maximizers also get looped by velocity content. Everyone online sounds like they're getting rich by Tuesday, and you feel behind, even though you're doing well. Minimalist strategists loop through avoidance and mental load. This is way too much. So they delay decisions because money feels like a second job. So what they do is they avoid. The mess grows, the anxiety spikes, and they avoid again. Minimalists aren't lazy. They're protecting bandwidth. But avoidance doesn't reduce complexity. It just delays it and it becomes more expensive, right? Notice anything? This really isn't about intelligence. It's a stress response plus a pattern. So let's quickly diagnose your loop. And maybe let me know if any of this feels familiar to you. Are you a builder? Are you a minimalist? Are you the maximizer? Tell me what landed for you. Which one of those scenarios sounded like you? So I want you to answer these questions honestly with, again, no shame. We just want to name and get clarity, right? Number one, when does money show up in your brain? Is it in the morning? Is it at bedtime? Is it after doom scrolling? Is it after talking to a family member? Is it after checking your bank account app? Number two, what's the trigger? Is it bills? Is it taxes? Is it debt that you owe? Is it an investment or an opportunity to invest? Is it your business cash flow? Is it family expectations? Is it lifestyle pressure that because you're at a certain income level that there's a certain lifestyle you're supposed to be maintaining? Or is it a fear of falling back, right? Number three, what's the theme of the loop? Are you asking, am I safe? Are you asking, am I behind? Are you asking, am I doing enough? Are you asking, what if I pick wrong? Or are you asking, why can't I relax? And number four, what do you do when the loop hits? Do you do more research? Do you check your accounts? Do you avoid? Do you spend for relief? Retail therapy? Do you argue? That's a response. I've had many partners have that as a response. Or do you make a drastic change and then regret it? Now, I want you to rate your loop intensity from 1 to 10. 1 being money is boring, and 10 being money is a daily background stressor and it's loud. And here's a big tell. If your money gets tense, if your body gets tense, you have a tight chest, tight jaw, shallow breathing, before you even look at the numbers, you're not planning, that's your body feeling a threat response. And you cannot outthink your threat response. You need to lower the signal with systems. So before we even get to the full loop interrupt system, here's a micro interrupt. I want you to, again, open up your notes app or write down on a piece of paper, money loops. And I want you to write one sentence your brain keeps repeating. Maybe it's, I'm scared that I'm behind. Maybe it's, I don't know what to do with my money. Maybe it's, I'm worried about taxes. Whatever it is that you think back to the last few times that money, you found yourself in a loop or ruminating about something. What was underneath it? I want you to write that down. And then I want you to write down, what would I need to know to decide this? Not solve it, decide it. That question shifts you from rumination to planning. It turns the loop into research question, and the research question has an endpoint to get to a decision. Okay? So in segment 2, we're going to lower the signal that keeps the loop alive. We're going to talk about the 5 loops that are the 5 fuel loops. Okay? That is the unknowns. That is volatility, that is overexposure, that's over-responsibility, that's having no cadence, and exactly what to do about each one without becoming a finance hobbyist. And then in the closing segment, I'm going to talk about, you're going to install your loop interrupt system. This is your weekly reset that closes these open loops and decision rules that stop you from renegotiating the same choices every day, because that's what rumination is. It's repeated renegotiation, and we are done with that. So don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Follow me at Do Better with Elaine on Instagram, and keep an eye on the Do Different Better website for all kinds of resources that are made available to you. You are listening to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, and we're going to lower the signal so your brain can finally let your money go. You're listening to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, where we talk money, power, and the possibilities without shame, the fluff, or just stop buying coffee nonsense. All right. Now, we've talked about the money stress loop. So remember the loop. It's uncertainty, which turns into a threat response, which then turns into mental rehearsal, which then turns into more certainty. So if you want your brain to stop replaying money like it's a true crime documentary, then we need to change the environment that it's responding to. So today I'm giving you 5 loop fuels that keep stress running. That is 1, unknowns, 2, volatility, 3, overexposure, 4, over responsibility, and 5, no cadence. And for each one, you're going to get a concrete move, not a vibe, not a mantra, but a move. So let's go. Unknowns are the biggest accelerant to rumination because your brain can tolerate bad news better than fuzzy news. Fuzzy news sounds like, I think I'm okay, but I'm not sure. I have subscriptions somewhere. I'm pretty sure taxes are fine, I think, or my retirement is doing whatever it's doing, right? Unknowns create what I call a phantom risk. Phantom risk is when you feel danger, but you can't necessarily locate it. So your brain is searching. It's searching, which becomes rumination. So the interrupt here is not solve everything first. It is reduce unknowns to knowns as quickly as possible. So I'm giving you a tool called the 10-minute money scan. This is not budgeting. This is reconnaissance, okay? Recon. So here's how it works. I want you to set a timer for 10 minutes, okay? Then you're going to open one tab. You're going to open your checking account tab, and you're going to open another tab, which is your primary credit card. That's it. 2 tabs. That's all. We are not going on a safari through 14 accounts, right? Okay. And now I want you to answer 4 questions. What's the current cash balance? And what's your current credit card balance? And I want you to ask what bills are going to hit in the next 7 days. And what's that weird thing that needs a note? Maybe it's a charge. Maybe it's a fee. Maybe it's the due date. Okay. Got it? Then I want you to write 1 sentence. You're going to repeat and complete. Right now, I am, and I want you to fill in the emotion, right? Do you feel safe? Is it tight? Is it a red alert, right? Right now, I am, fill in the blank for the next 7 days, whatever that is. Once again, no judgment. We want to recognize how we're feeling, what's going on inside, what's going on in our brain. That sentence matters because your nervous system wants a verdict. It wants to be told what's happening. Is this a risk? Is this a threat? If it's not, then I will stop treating it like a risk or a threat. If you don't give a verdict, it will keep arguing with itself all week long for the next 7 days. Now, here's a warning, because you know I'm going to say it. This is not for you to spiral and start cutting your streaming services like it's a moral failing. This is for you to replace I don't know with I know enough this week. If you're a builder, you will want to turn the 10-minute scan into a 2-hour dashboard project. Don't. Again, this is reconnaissance, not architecture, right? If you are a maximizer, you want to interpret every number as a referendum on your worth. Don't. This is data, not identity. If you're a caretaker, you'll want to immediately think about who else needs money. I want you to pause. We're just scanning your system first. And if you're a minimalist strategist, you'll want to avoid the scan entirely. And I want you to do it anyway, okay? It's 10 minutes. You can do hard things. And quite frankly, this isn't really hard, okay? It's hard for you. I get it. Okay, now let's move on to volatility. Volatility is when your numbers change a lot and your brain doesn't trust stability. This hits like especially business owners with variable income, commission-based earners, gig workers, anyone with large irregular expenses like tuition, medical expenses, or home repairs. And honestly, many households right now, because prices and layoffs are hitting everybody, it's creating a lot of edge for people. When your floor moves, the brain tries to create safety by predicting. It forecasts constantly. It's like, what if next month is bad? What if this client leaves? What if the contract doesn't renew? What if the furnace dies? Does that sound familiar? So the move here is build volatility buffers, but build volatility buffers that are simple and visible. You don't need the perfect budget. You need 3 numbers that create stability. 1, what's your baseline? What does it cost to keep life running? 2, what's your buffer? The minimum cash cushion that you're going to need. And 3, your brick house. What is your true emergency fund target? And I talk about that on a previous episode. So your baseline, your buffer, and your brick house. And today I'm giving you the volatility specific application. If your income is variable, stop thinking in monthly salary terms and start thinking in minimal viable month terms, okay? Minimal viable month is all of your baseline expenses. Now, for my variable folks, my variable income folks, your buffer should be a little bigger than you think because your brain is not reacting to the average month. It's reacting to the worst plausible situation, right? So here's a clean rule. If your income is variable, aim for a buffer of a 2-month baseline. And I've defined what that is in the previous episode, right? It's not forever, it's not overnight, but it is a target. Because what happens at 2 months? The brain stops treating every slow week like a survival threat. You've given it a container by which when it should tell it when it should panic, right? And if you're thinking, Elaine, that must be nice. Hear me. This is not a flex. This is a plan. You build it by automation and containment. So auto transfer a small percentage from your inflow into your buffer, right? Keep your buffer in a separate savings account that you don't stare at daily and name it something that makes your brain relax, like floor fund or stability fund or do not touch unless something's on fire. A lot of these you can actually create a nickname for the account. So when you see it on your phone or when you see it on your computer, you can see that name, right? It's kind of like when you label your ex in your contacts as do not answer. This is kind of the same logic, right? We're just now applying it to your money. So now let's talk about overexposure. When overexposure is when you consume so much content that your brain can't tell the signal from the noise. And some of you are out here doing the financial version of doom scrolling, right? You're out here doing the most with the least. You don't even have a plan, but you know that Jerome Powell ate what he ate for breakfast, right? Or Susie Orman. Overexposure looks like checking markets daily, watching TikToks about recession indicators, comparing your portfolio to strangers online who you don't even know, and letting every headline rewrite your strategy. The problem isn't information. The problem is unfiltered inputs. So here's the move. Create a money media diet. Yes, I said diet, not in food, right? Not because money content is bad, but because your brain can't digest 14 opinions a day. So here are 3 rules. Rule 1, only consume money news at a set time window. Pick one, Tuesday and Friday mornings or Sundays during your weekly reset, right? Not whenever anxiety hits or at random. Rule number 2, choose 2 trusted services, not 12. Not whoever is yelling the loudest on YouTube. Pick 2 sources. Maybe it's the Financial Times and Do.Different.Better, right? What incentives you understand, ideally not people selling fear or course funnels, right? Rule number 3, separate education from decision making. Education is ongoing. Decisions happen on a schedule. If you change your investment strategy every time you learn something new, you're not investing. You're emotionally trading. Now, I'm going to say something that might sting a little. If your money content consumption is making you more anxious and more indecisive, it's entertainment. It's not education. And you're not paying for that entertainment with your nervous system. Overexposure keeps the loop alive by constantly reopening all of these wounds that you're trying to get through, right? So now let's talk about over responsibility. This one is tender and real. Trigger warning, okay? Just want to say that out loud, right? Over responsibility is when your money stress isn't about your bills, it's about other people's reactions and expectations and needs. This shows up a lot in eldest daughters, first-gen professionals, caretakers, community anchors, and especially women who have been trained to translate love into labor. If you're a caretaker identity, this is your default. Your brain doesn't ask, can I afford this? It asks, who will suffer if I don't do this, right? And that question will keep you in a loop forever because there will always be someone else who could use help. Always. So the move here is boundaries that are written down. Because if they're not written down, they're constantly going to be negotiable. And if they're negotiable, your brain will renegotiate them every time you feel guilt. I'm giving you 2 boundaries tools. The giving budget and the rescue rule. The giving budget is a fixed monthly number you can give without destabilizing your life. If you want, it might be $25, it might be $250, it might be $2,000. The number is less important than the fact that it exists. You get to decide what that looks like. And it's not very complicated, and you can communicate it like this. I have set aside X amount of dollars to support each month. I can do up to Y amount of money for this situation. And if you want to keep it and keep firm, then if that doesn't cover it, I can help you think through other options. This is what you can say to the person who's coming to you asking for money. Now, here's the rescue rule. If helping someone will create a new loop for you, like late fees, credit card floating, or missed savings, then it's not help. It's just a transfer of stress. So your rescue rule is, I do not rescue in ways that create financial instability for my household. Let me be clear. This is not selfish. This is being an adult. If you want to stay generous long-term, you have to stay solvent and sane. Your generosity is not sustainable if it is powered by guilt, right? So as we wrap up this segment, we have talked about a lot of stuff, and we've talked about the loops and how they happen, and how your wealth identity might inform what your loop looks like. Coming up next, I'm going to be talking about the weekly reset in detail. When you handle money on purpose, you stop handling money in panic. Now, if you're thinking, I don't have time, I'm going to be blunt. You're already spending the time. You're just leaking it out as rumination, checking, and decision fatigue. Cadence doesn't add time, it relocates time. And if you're thinking, I don't know what to do in those sessions, good. That means you're ready for a script, and I'm about to give you one. I will see you after the break. You're listening to the Do.Different.Better show. The Do.Different.Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, and we have been talking about the money loop and the challenge with the money loop and how it actually prevents you from moving forward. So now, as we wrap up this episode, I'm now going to be jumping into the next part of this that's going to hopefully change everything for you. It's going to turn everything around, right? But before we get into that, I want to address the but what about right now question, because some of you who are listening, I've already been activated on a whole nother level that is going to actually put you into another loop. Maybe in your car, your jaw is really tight thinking about this conversation you might need to have with yourself. Maybe you're at your desk avoiding an invoice. And maybe you're on the treadmill trying to outrun your student loan. I'm not sure. But respectfully, it doesn't work. So here's a real-time protocol I want you to take on, right? Stop, label, park. It's not therapy. It's mental traffic control. So the first step is stop. Literally stop what you're doing for 10 seconds. What you're doing is you're interrupting the autopilot. Step 2, name what fuel is present. Is it something that's unknown? Is it that it's volatility? Is it overexposure? Is it over responsibility? What is actually happening? Your brain hates naming because naming reduces drama. It actually wants to stay in the loop, right? It turns doom into category, right? So step 3, park. Park the thought in the right place. If it's an unknown, it goes on your scan list. If it's a volatility, it goes in your buffer plan. If it's overexposure, it goes on your media boundary, right? If it is no cadence, then it goes on your weekly reset agenda. Parking is powerful because it tells your brain, we're not going to ignore this. We're scheduling it to deal with it at a very specific time, which then triggers your brain to be like, oh, okay, that's settled. I can move on to the next thing because I know that there's a date and a plan to deal with that thing. So now I can go and solve other things. Now let's expand each fuel on one concrete example, because their theory is cute, but practice is rent, right? So unknowns. This is the mystery charge, the spiral, right? You see an unknown charge like, $30. Your brain goes, what is that? Did I get hacked? Is my identity stolen? Are we about to be living in a van down by the river, right? Here's the 10-minute scan. During the scan, you write down $27 charge, investigate. Then you apply a decision rule even before, right? You get to this part, right? If the charge is under $50, because we did your rules in the previous segment, if the charge is under $50 and not recurring, you investigate during your weekly reset and not in the middle of the workday. If the charge is over $50, then you will investigate this within 24 or 48 hours. Why? Because time is value. If you drop everything for every small uncertainty, you train your brain that panic is productive. And yes, sometimes it is fraud. Fine. But most of the time, it's just a forgotten subscription, a restaurant tip that's posting late, or a thing that you bought that you were just treating yourself and then immediate blocked out of your mind, right? You don't solve the mystery by spiraling. You solve it by putting it into your system. Next. And now, founders, let me talk to you directly. You have one slow week, one, and suddenly you're rewriting your whole life story. This business is failing. I'm not cut out for this. I should go back to corporate. I should change my logo, or I should launch a course. Maybe I will become a beekeeper. That is volatility plus no buffer. When you have a buffer, a slow week is information, not a crisis. And here's a founder move. Create a runway dashboard that is literally 3 lines. 1, cash in the business account. 2, average monthly expenses. And 3, months of runway. That's your cash divided by your expenses. You update it in your weekly reset, not daily, not hourly, but weekly. Because your daily runway because daily runway checking is just another anxiety cosplay. Weekly runway checking is leadership. And then you pair that with minimal viable month on the personal side. That way your brain knows, even if business is weird, my household floor is taken care of. If you want to be strategic, you need runway. If you want to sleep, you need runway. Same runway, different results, right? Now let's talk about overexposure. This is the person who hears pay off debt first, then hears invest first, then hears buy real estate, then hears cash is trash, right? Then here's recession is coming. Then here's AI will replace your job. And now they're paralyzed because they're trying to satisfy 14 contradicting strategies. So here's a cure. Pick your money operating system, not for life, but for the next 90 days. Your operating system answers what's the priority right now. Is it stability? Is it debt reduction? Is it growth investing? Is it scaling a business? Number 2, what's the one metric that matters? Is it buffer months? Is it debt balance? Is it savings rate? Is it automated investing account? Is it cash runway? And finally, what's the cadence? Is it in the weekly reset or is it in my monthly close? If the advice you consume doesn't align with your operating system, it's not relevant right now. Not because it's wrong, but because it's not the season, right? And yes, that means you might have to unfollow some people so you can bring down the noise in your brain. That's okay. You're not breaking up. You're protecting your brain. So, next example, let's do a realistic scenario. A family member calls. They need money. And you feel that familiar cocktail. Love plus pressure plus guilt plus fear of being judged. Without a system, you simply say yes instantly or no harshly, and either way you feel terrible. With a system, you actually get to pause. You get to say, let me look at my support budget and I'll get back to you tomorrow or in 2 days or by the weekend. That one sentence does 2 things. 1, it interrupts the emotional decision-making. It tells your brain, we have a category for this. Then during your weekly reset, you check the giving budget. If you can help, you decide the amount and the method. If you can't, you decline with a script. And that script is, I can't contribute financially right now. I can help you think through resources or a plan. And if you're thinking, but they'll be mad. Okay, let them be mad. People are allowed to be disappointed by your boundaries. That doesn't mean your boundary is wrong. Over-responsibility keeps your loop alive because you're trying to control other people's reactions with your money. That's a losing game. Here's another example. This is an example of no cadence. If you don't have a money cadence, money conversations happen only when something is wrong. So your body learns money talk equals danger. Then your partner says, we should talk about money. And your nervous system hears, you're in trouble. Cadence changes that. Because if you have a weekly reset, the conversation becomes cool. We'll cover that on Saturday. Money stops being a surprise attack and becomes a standing meeting. And yes, it's romantic to have standing meetings. No, nothing says love like a shared Google Calendar discipline. Okay. If you're a solo household, cadence matters. If it's the difference between I'll deal with it later and I'll handle my life like an adult with a system. So, Elaine, you might be saying, Elaine, what if I'm already behind and my numbers are bad? Then you need to scan even more because your brain is already assuming the worst, right? And it might not actually be as bad as what you actually think. Remember, I talked about that. Now, you might also be saying, what if I hate looking at my accounts because it makes me anxious? Yes, that's a fair point. Your body is responding to uncertainty. So start with just 10 minutes. And if 10 minutes is too much, then start with 5. Your nervous system has to relearn a new way of being that looking does not equal danger. And so you might have to desensitize your body to that by starting with a very small number and working your way up. But don't stay in that number, right? If you're saying, I'm going to look at this for 5 minutes, decide how long that is going to be true. Is it going to be every week, 5 minutes every week for the next month with a plan of increasing it to 10 the next month? Think through a plan and not just doing whatever, right? You're like, what if my partner and I fight about money? Then cadence is non-negotiable, and you need decision rules so that you're not debating everything from scratch every single time, right? So I just want you to start thinking about, these are just examples of how you can start to recognize not only your loop pattern, but maybe patterns that are around you. Maybe it be your boss when it comes to the budget of your department. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's your parents, right? These are all things that you want to think about. So now I want to give you a quick quiz before we start to close this out. I want you to build your personal loop map, right? So I want you to grab a pen or use your notes, and this is going to be quick. So I want you to draw 5 circles, right? Circle number 1, unknowns. Circle number 2, volatility. Circle number 3, overexposure. Circle number 4, over responsibility. And circle number 5, no cadence. Now, put a number 0 through 3 next to each one of them. 0 is it's not a factor. 1 is it's mild. 2 is it's significant. And 3, this is basically my personality. Most of you will have fuels at a 2 or a 3, and those are your leverage points. Now, I want you to write one sentence for each high fuel. For unknowns, I want you to write, my biggest unknown is. For volatility, my biggest volatility trigger is. For overexposure, the content that spikes me is. For over-responsibility, the place I overcarry is. And for no cadence, the reason I avoid cadence is, right? So you should only be doing 2 of those. You shouldn't be doing all 5 of them, right? You're going to use the sentence that correlates to the ones that were the highest points in your circles, right? The last one is a truth serum, because cadence avoidance usually has a story behind it. Is I'm afraid of what I'm going to see. I don't want to feel judged. I don't trust myself to follow through, and I'm tired and I just can't. But I just want you to do this once again, no shame, just information. Then I want you to pick one to do this week. One of these, not all of these, one of these, okay? Either do a 10-minute scan or set up one auto transfer to buffer, even if it's $10. Choose your 2 money information sources and mute the rest. Decide your giving budget or put the weekly reset on your calendar. I just want you to pick one of these, not 5. I want you to create momentum, because momentum beats ambition every time. And we know that action creates traction, right? So we're not trying to get you to be a financial expert. We're not trying to make you a wizard. We're really just trying to lay down, get clear, clean out the clutter, and start building a plan that works for us. You don't need to become a finance expert. You don't need to become a person with a cadence, and you don't need to get all crazy with this. This is about building a system that you're going to continue to grow on. So we've talked about naming your loop. We have identified your fuels, and then we've installed the cure. So we have now created your loop interruption system, a weekly reset, your decision rules for you to stop renegotiating the same choices every day. So I hope this was helpful for you. I can't wait to see you next time. And if I really want to hear from you, tell me on IG or LinkedIn how this has helped you. If you've shared this with anybody, I want to know. So I can't wait to see you next time on the next episode of Do Different Better. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, and I will see you next time.